All right, let's see. I need to grab my link. All right. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Ready to roll. Good morning. Happy Sunday. There we go. All right. What are the biggest things to fix here? All right. Where are we? That's right. I need to grab some brushes. I almost forgot. Oh, I did forget. I almost forgot to remember. There we go. All right. Where are we going to start with this today? Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully try to bring this one to a finish finally. That's what I'm looking forward to. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. Maybe I should Good morning. Let's see. All right, I could use a plant or something here. I got plants behind me. Good morning. a little more foreground depth here. Oh, dropped my brush in the water. And it's a short brush. Right, there it is. Yeah. Pinky acrylic water too. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. That's true. AI can't do a lot of things, right? So, you know, they can't even make video games look better, apparently. Apparently, it can only make them look much worse. Just want a little bit more of a foreground element over here. I gotta look up more often. Yeah, what's the trick over there on Twitch to live streaming on Twitch? Art live streaming, or it's just got to be video games all the time? It's interesting how fixated people are watching other people play video games. Just um, more hashtags the better. Ah, I need to get like tags. What are those? I multi-stream, so I don't really understand how all the different streaming things work. So I think I just put myself in like arts category, but um, I need to like take a day off from like making things to like sorting out my stuff. Yeah, that's the trouble with the music thing, right? Now, I wouldn't mind streaming music as long as, like I wish there was a way you could stream it and then it would, depending on the system you're on, it would send the royalties to the musicians or whatever, and then you could just play whatever you wanted. Um, but they don't have it kind of working that way, so, you know, um, so I can't really do that. And I hesitate to play like any of the even any of like the copyright free stuff these days because I don't know what's AI and what's not, or what's good and what's not. I wouldn't mind playing the music, but it's like I don't want to stream AI music. Um, so I will see like art streamers streaming with some music in the background, but I'm not sure like what the origin of that is or whatever. Pure RGB. Is that like a background color you mean, or like what? Well, I'm not I'm not I don't have anything fancy. It's just the morning light coming through the window behind me. That's what you were talking about. I mean, like the colors here, or what? Oh, interesting. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of bright colors out there, right? I mean, we get some pretty good greens out there, but all right. Yeah, I'm just working to try to touch this thing up, so that's where we're at with this picture. Yeah. I mean, I've got flake white downstairs in my, you can't, there's no flake white for acrylic, but I got it for my oil paints downstairs. You know, the cadmium yellows and cadmium oranges, those are all pretty nasty as far as toxicity goes. So, you know, that stuff's all pretty nasty. Um, so, yeah. Are you an artiste? Okay, good. Let me guess. You draw the manga, the manga. That would probably help me be more popular if I did fan art and I did manga. Kids love the manga, the manhwa shu. You do linguistic art, I see. So not visual arts. What are you, a beatboxer? A I see. Do you speak multiple languages? Yeah. Which ones? Mandarin and German, okay. 唔識講廣東話啊？Ohio gozaimasu. Right. I speak a few languages myself, a little out of practice since I'm living in the United States again, but 但係我之前喺香港住啊。I see. I just know the Ohio gozaimasu from walking into Japanese shops, like 7-Elevens in the morning. Uh, toured there a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't mind learning Japanese if I thought I was going to live there for an extended period of time. Um, so I feel like there's a lot of really great culture and things to engage with over there, and all of that. Yeah, but I don't really see that in the cards. Yeah, just say Ohio. The whole gozaimasu is like a polite thing, right? I speak Russian. Well, English is my native language. You know, born in California, and then I speak Russian, Lithuanian, and some Cantonese. Cantonese is a little rusty because I lived in Hong Kong for 4 years, so. Let's see. Maybe. I don't know. Depends on what the injury was, I guess. A lot of child prodigies end up failures, right? Because they kind of achieve a lot very early, and they're just like, well, now what? Yeah, um, so I think humans are kind of language learning machines, right? So I think a lot of people don't just because they don't have a strong need to. But I've lived in different places, and some places people will speak three, four languages fairly fluently because they need to. Like if you go to Europe, right, every country is pretty small and they're all right next to each other. So, you can kind of see yourself using multiple languages all the time just because of proximity. And it makes it more necessary. All right. Yeah. Well, it's like where I live now, like I live in Richmond, Virginia, and it's pretty, standard American whatever here. Like there's not a lot of I don't get a lot of international students in my classes like I used to when I lived in Florida actually. When I taught at Ringling College of Art and Design for 4 years, and then came up here. And down there, I would get, Russians and Argentinians and Hong Kongers and Chinese and Koreans and Japanese and Indonesian, people from all over the world. And, it's a little more international than what I see here or have here in my classes. Okay, rural New York. Like Hudson, New York, or further north, or I lived in New York City for a couple of years for grad school. Oh, okay. So, what's the name of that? What's the name of that? What's the name of that waterfall up there? It's kind of they call it the Grand Canyon of the East. What's the name of that park up there? No, no, not Niagara Falls. It's a they call it the Grand Canyon. It's to the west of the Finger Lakes, just a bit. It's a small park, but it's like a really deep canyon with a couple of large waterfalls in it. some train bridges going over it. I don't remember the name of it. I did some painting there once upon a time. There you go, Letchworth. That's right, Letchworth State Park. Yeah, it's a cool park if you haven't been over there. I'd love to go there in the fall sometime. Yeah, that's a great park if you haven't been up there. I'd like to go to Allegheny. I've never been up there either. Um, I did convert my Nissan Xterra into a mini camper. Even made a whole Instagram dedicated to the build and trips I've taken with it. Um, yeah, the Letchworth one's not huge, or it's like a big giant park. He kind of just like has a road that goes along the canyon and you can walk out to the different views if you haven't been over there. I think there's some cabins on site that you can rent. Yeah, French. I know. They do get into everything. The French. All right, let's see who's next on here. I'm trying to push this thing to its conclusion. I'm looking for stuff that I can touch up on here. Things that are sticking out to me a little bit. Like I've got a shadow in here. It's just a little too heavy-handed in that pipe thing. Well, yeah. What if you got to go north though, right? Into Quebecois land. Eh? One of the things that always bothered me, one of my Russian grammar books was always making comparisons to French. I'm like, I don't speak French. Why are you putting French comparisons in a Russian grammar book? It offers modern Russian. Yeah, and Wendigos are kind of a problem. Yeah, they were first, relative, sort of, but so they got dibs on naming stuff. Let's see, fix that pipe up. Coffee break. Alright, what else do you fix on here? Let's see. What did you find out about today? that octopuses have 9 brains. Which seems like an excessive amount. But, gunpowder archery, huh? Isn't that just shooting guns? Let's see. I want to get this hair right there. I've never played Minecraft. My nieces liked it. Like it. Yeah. I know my nieces, they liked it. I think I was just the wrong age for it. It's like Pokemon came out when my brother, came popular when my brother was the kind of the age for that, my youngest brother, and so I never had any particular interest in it. But it seems like it's remained a very popular thing. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even know what Yu-Gi-Oh is about. I know the name. I have no idea even what it's about. I've never like Dragon Ball Z. Like I've never watched any Dragon Ball Z. I know it's kind of about leveling up or something. Um, but that's about all I really know about it. And, I've seen the memes, I guess. I was a late Gen X kid, so I kind of missed all of that stuff. Most of my siblings are all millennials, so they were kind of more in that category. I don't think any of them know who Yu-Gi-Oh is. I should probably look it up just so I'm not completely ignorant. It's like one of the things I like to do with my students at the university is use um, well, I like use like slang incorrectly in front of them, or like modern slang. All right. Yeah. I had a when I lived in Hong Kong, I taught at Savannah College of Art and Design. They had a campus there. They no longer do, but they used to have one. Um, Miserable place, but I was in Hong Kong. I didn't want to leave. Um, Kind of a once in a lifetime thing to do, and but students were all into Pokemon, so I would use for still life. I bought these stuffed animal, stuffed Pokemon animal things, so they could draw those. And the university president who owns the whole school, Paula Wallace, she did not like that at all. She thought that was lame. She wanted me to draw stuff like flowers in vases and office supplies and cool things like that, not, Pokemon stuffed animals. I mean, Stitch and giant Pikachus and all that stuff. Much better to do office supplies. It's more serious. Um, um, yeah, for me, these are actually kind of a bit of an experiment. Like acrylic, this is acrylic paint, and acrylic's actually been my least favorite medium. And I've talked about this before in here, but usually it's for somebody new. But basically, I haven't really done finished acrylics in like 20 years, basically, since I was a student. And I didn't like it as a student. It just felt weird and wrong and evil, maybe possessed. I don't know. Felt just felt stiff and plasticky, and I didn't like the effects of it. Um, how it kind of felt to work with it. And I've taught it once before at another university where I had to like bring it out and teach it. And that went okay. It was just one of the projects, so I had to just like play around with enough to show students what to do. And it was a water media class kind of thing. But and I didn't touch it again until this last semester when I had to use it for an illustration class I was teaching where we couldn't use oils. I like oil painting. I like wash painting. I like painting, but I did not like acrylic painting. And anyway, I did some demos in there with it, and they came out pretty good. So I was kind of happy with them. There's a lot of artists I've like who've done acrylic, or acrylic artists like Doug Chang, who's the concept artist at Disney, Disney Lucasfilm for a long time, at Lucasfilm for a long time. Like he did a lot of acrylic stuff for his own book Robota, and then also for Star Wars, at least the first movie, and then but um, well, the problem with it, is it dries. It has unique. Well, its unique working properties is part of the problem. But for me, I kind of looking at it, and I realized like after I had done the acrylic class, I was doing the oil classes a lot because that was a focus at my university, and I was thinking, maybe what happened is as I did the other mediums, I was learning to paint and use color and color mixing and all that stuff, and I wasn't very experienced with that when I originally used the acrylics, and maybe that's why I didn't like it. So I had all these things that I didn't like about it, but maybe that was really like the fundamental problem. So I thought, hey, maybe I should give this medium another try and kind of take the things that I've learned since then and apply that to um, so yeah, I've been doing a bunch of that this winter spring time period. To like actually take some time and do some more finished work, and so I've been doing a bunch of studies, and then also this is actually a study. So basically, I'm taking three different reference sources. That's right. I gotta move this eyeball a little bit down here. I have to move it like half a brush stroke, half a hair down. Level it out. Might need to get the reading glasses out for that. Um, but well, you only need 3 points to make a shape, right? That's the minimum is three. But yeah, if I go grab my little recent progress over. Oh, hello, boss. You decided to get up? Yeah, go get some water. My dog just got up. Headphones on, so I can't hear him. But I did this one. This is using a 3-color palette. And then I did this one, which I might go back and revise. And then I did this one right here. And then this one. And they're all pretty small, They're about 8 by 8 inches or 9 inches or whatever. But I was like, maybe I should play around with this some more. So I've been taking an hour or two in the morning before I do all the other things I got to do today. Today I got to see. I can't figure out if my alternator is going bad or not in my car. Do a little electrical work on it, but it's been acting a little bit strange. But yeah, so I'm like, oh, maybe I should give this another little shot. Is this acrylic stuff? So been working on a comic book project for myself. Wanted to send out as a pitch. Um, um, and so that I was thinking about as part of that, do some concept art in acrylic, kind of in that Ralph McQuarrie or um, Doug Chang approach. And I'm using techniques. So one of the things I was doing in the fall was I was bringing in artists to show my students, say, hey, look, this artist uses acrylic, and this is how they do it, and you can try that too, and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I can do that too. So I've been looking at those artists along with a number of others to kind of revise my skill set, because I can kind of look at a painting and see how it was constructed. So I can look and say, okay, these are, probably the colors they're using. This is probably the way that they layered it up. So what they started with and how they kind of progressed through the painting. It's not always obvious. Like, for example, Ralph McQuarrie, he liked to use cell paints for his underpainting. And it's because it lies really flat and doesn't leave a lot of impasto on top. And so he liked to use that. But that's not obvious from looking at his work. And then he used acrylic over that. Yeah, so he liked the cell. It's the same paint they used to paint like cells for uh, animation. And so they actually don't make as much of that as they used to, because almost nobody does hand painted cell animation anymore. So there was that recent Gorillas video where they actually did that. Um, where they actually hand painted all of the animation cells for that music video they put out. So, but that's pretty rare. Like, I think stop motion is more common than that now. So they did the backgrounds digitally, so I was a little disappointed by that. But you still can buy that cell paint. I thought about picking up that I need it for what I'm doing, but I thought it would just be interesting. I did see you can get the same paints that they use at Studio Ghibli to do backgrounds, or in general, a lot of manga studios use. Spelled Nicker, which is a word I have to be careful saying because it can a little bit of a mispronunciation, and that can sound a little off. But I thought that was interesting that you can get that. I mean, they still do hand painted backgrounds and everything with this poster paint. Nicker. Um, um, well, actually, it's a plumb. There's a B on the end. It's not a plumb line, it's a plumb line. Because they were originally made out of lead. And what they were for wasn't for perspective, it was for seeing a vertical line in front of the figure, making comparisons left and right. So you hold it up, like that, and it drops the line. It's just a weighted line, so you can kind of see left to right on it, and can make comparisons, see what intersects along that plumb line. Said plumb, but it's a plumb, spelled that way. It's spelled plumb. People still do that. I mean, you just need a weight on the end of it, right? You could use anything for that, fishing line or whatever, fishing weight. Yeah, it's a common misunderstanding because it kind of makes sense once you spell it that way. It's like, oh, it's not for plumbing; it's for plumb. That's probably why plumbing is spelled that way, right? Plumbing, the B, because it was lead pipes, right? So you were dealing with all the pipes that used to be lead. There's some people that argue that's one of the causes for the reduction in violent crime in the world is the shifting away lead pipes and lead paint and things like that because it does can cause mental health problems over time. Yeah. Yeah, so again, you can use anything for it. It's just historically they probably use a piece of lead or whatever to stick on the end of it. So they're like, yeah, we'll call it a plumb line. I think part two is like historically people were more familiar with Latin terminology, right? Because they would learn Latin in school. That's like because the atomic marker name for lead is Pb, right? On the periodic table of Mendeleev, by the way, which is so we don't call it that in English, but it was originally invented by a Soviet. So over there they call it the periodic table of Mendeleev. Um, but over here we just call it the periodic table. But we don't call it after him because it was a Soviet who came up with it, some commie, and so we didn't want to give him proper credit for it, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, but again, yeah, it gets misspelled all the time. It's like I've seen it written. I walk into somebody's figure drawing classroom, and when there's no one there, and I'll see it written on the board as plum, like the fruit line. I could see people seeing it as being a plumb line, right? Like with the fruit, because like, oh yeah, like it's like a hanging fruit, right? Like I could see making that comparison. Like um yeah. And stuff used to be really cheap right after the fall of the Soviet Union. Like you could buy a ton of cheap stuff from them. Like there's an art museum in Utah, Springville Art Museum, and so yeah. But yeah, the stuff's a lot less common and a little harder to get. So trying to think of anything else I should do on this. Those are like the little things I wanted to touch up. Let's see, I gotta get the reading glasses so I can get this side there. Reading glasses, right? A little bit of zoom. And it's such a small spot. Let's see, it looks like it needs to be a little bit lighter. Yeah, there's a couple complaints about acrylic, and they're both related to their working properties. So one is, and people both love and hate this about acrylic, but it dries fast. It's like with the oil painting. People hate that the people love it because it does dry slow. Sorry if I'm in the way. I'm just trying to get this eyelid on here a little bit. It's head, it's smaller than my thumb. Alright, feels better. There we go. I think that fixed it. I noticed when I was looking at it the other day that the eyes weren't quite level with each other. Though technically speaking, very few people have like perfectly level features. But if you don't paint it level, it looks really wrong because if you don't paint level, it looks really wrong because I think people overdo the difference. Because most people's faces aren't perfect. Oh, appreciate that, bookers. Most people don't can't paint it perfectly symmetrical as it is. So by trying to paint it symmetrically, you get closer to the asymmetry rather than let's see, what we're going to listen to today. Let's start with that. Get closer to the proper asymmetry on there, and makes a lot more sense that way. Where if you try to paint the asymmetry perfectly, I appreciate that. Over there on the Instagram side. But yeah, if you do paint the asymmetry, you might overdo it. And so it'll look really strange. Whereas if you try to not paint it, and you try to paint it correctly, it'll look better. I think I can make that eye go down just a little bit like lower. Like the actual dark part here. I can get just the right amount of paint on the tip of this brush. Yeah, but I want to do what these paintings are basically I call them mix reference. And so pastel sticks are better than acrylic prints. But what was I saying with the dry paint thing? So basically, people don't like that it dries fast. That's like one of the hard parts about it. But the other thing about acrylic that's hard for people is when you add water to it, it looks lighter. So the people say is it dries darker than when you paint it. And with these concepts, so the images I've been doing lately with these acrylic paintings, basically I'm taking several reference sources and I'm just blending them together. So I find a pose I like, an outfit that I think could be fun to paint, and then some other subjects that I can stick in there. So like this background comes from a photo. This is loosely based on a, these three guys are based off of a, what's the word here? A jellyfish. It doesn't look exactly like the original jellyfish I was looking at, but and then the arm comes from an actual robot arm. The branch sort of comes from this tree stuff I was looking at, but I've deviated from it quite a bit. And then I'm just kind of taking stuff from this here and sticking it in the background. So there's not really like a specific story for these. They're just kind of like a way for me to get a prompt to do something with. So that's how I've been doing these acrylics. I think they've been fun. They're small. Like that's one of the challenges here is they're just so small. Uh, which if I'm trying to I like to paint detailed and specific. So it kind of would be easier if they were larger. But I was doing these in my sketchbook, and so this is actually a leftover piece of sketchbook paper that's been taped to another piece of paper. I was still mostly doing that just to have a place for the tape to attach to. Okay. Everybody loves Alice in Wonderland, right? Um, let's see. Let's get some more hair strands. I'm trying to basically do final details on here. Hopefully, just call this one done. I have mixed feelings about the composition. I think there's feels a little heavy still over here. So I'd like to figure that out. There's something else I need to change to kind of level it out. Let's see, fluid on into that. So that's one thing. So yeah, the fact that it dries fast and the lighter thing people don't like a lot of times. For me too, it's also just been kind of flow issue, like getting the. I found out what the difference is between heavy body and soft body acrylics, and I assumed that heavy body just kind of meant that there was more pigment and more paint in the heavy body paints, and that turned out to be wrong. All right, I'll have a good one popping in. Oh, artisan, welcome aboard. A little bit loud over here in my head. Practice my Mandarin. Ni hao. But so I'm kind of probably gonna try to gradually replace the heavy body stuff with soft body as I use it up. I already bought a couple of two to facilitate that, or a couple of bottles to try out at that size. But and then the other thing is the flow thing. So I found a what's called high flow medium, which I think is basically just retarder medium and something else, maybe a glazed medium or something in there. But it kind of it kind of improves the flow quality because it slows the drying just like a little bit, I think. Especially when you compare it to a retarder medium that'll keep it a little more fluid for a little bit longer. 你好吗？你好吗？你好吗？It's 你好吗? I think it's just ni hao in the Mandarin, in the Putonghua. Yeah, but yeah, something I was looking at a lot of painters that I like during that semester. One was like James C. Christensen, talked about Doug Chang, Ralph McQuarrie, um, Jude Poloncarz. I'm glad you like the plants. Um, But so I was looking at these different artists, like, oh, because I can kind of read how they do things, which was I was talking about before. But so I'm looking like, well, I can try that, see how it goes for me. Like the cross hatching approach on the hair, or I mean the forms, um, which makes it a lot easier to kind of build up a form. So you kind of put down a flat color, and then you build it up on top of that using the high flow medium. It's really helpful for me. Wanted the head look like it's caving in back there. So those are all things that kind of helped me out um, when I was trying to help students out last fall, looking at these other artists. That's kind of the big advantage to like looking at other artists for artists, is like seeing how other people are trying to solve the same problems that you're trying to solve and the solutions they found, and then how you can apply those solutions to yourself. And yeah, so I was looking at those and like, oh, I can do that. I can do this. I can do this other thing. So um, that made my life a lot easier, which I'm always for that. And kind of reopened what's possible with painting for me, because like I have this whole medium that I can kind of explore that I haven't spent a lot of time with. That's always like a nice thing to add something to your repertoire. So how long is it taking me to paint that? Let's see, it's fine. I've done it all online live stream, so I can go over and I can count up the amount of hours I've spent on this. Let's see, let's go over here to live. So I started this one, looks like on the 9th. So I'm working on it for 10 days, which sounds about right. I was working on the last one for I think 11 days. So we've got, let's see, 2 hours, 4 hours, 9, 11, 13, let's see, 14 and a half, 16 and a half, 17, 18, 19 and a half, 21 and a half, 23 and a half. So yeah, because last one took me about 24 hours. So, 23 and a half so far, plus today. Well, that's one of the things I think a lot of people don't understand is like to do detailed work takes a long time. Like if you see those intensive splash art paintings for like what's that game, League of Legends, they'll spend 80 hours on one of those digital paintings. they'll spend, weeks working on that. 2, 3, 4 weeks working on just one painting. And so if you think about it, if I were doing this, it would take me, 3 full-time days to paint it, right? Basically. And actually, it might take less just because I don't have to, I would just be working the whole time. I wouldn't be taking a break. So, like, I've just been coming on to spending an hour and a half to 2 hours on it in the morning. So I could do a couple of these a week. But I think it's one of the things people forget, even with like digital work, like they spend a lot of time on those things. And there are like fast ways or quick sketchy things that you can do. But I kind of really like the detail process. Yeah, the jellyfish there. There's one over there. There's a couple over there, and then there's something going on back there. Um, so this guy could use a little solidity. It's kind of fuzzy. So mostly it's kind of going through and trying to clean things up a little bit in here. Yeah, so when I put these compositions together, I don't really start with the narrative. I start with the pose, then I'm like, well, what can we do with the scene? Like, what is the character doing in the scene? What action are they taking a specific action, and what is that? And which reminds me, I have to take specific action to do too. I got grading that was due on Friday. I need to do today. I completely forgot it on Friday. I remembered in the morning, and then by the time I should have been on it, I completely forgotten about it. So, yeah, some little jellyfish guys here. For some reason they're floating around in the open air, right? And it's usually not a good idea to touch jellyfish. All right, they can have a lot of toxins in their skin. Fun fact: the jellyfish are actually uh, they're actually more of a colony than they are like a single organism. So they're kind of weird too. As far as like animals in the animal kingdom, like they're more like I guess a colony rather than like a single-minded organism. It's kind of wild to think about. I think to a certain degree, it's like, oh, that's really strange. So, yeah, I've always thought they're interesting animals. The jellyfish. Pretty much right. Everybody see Sam Keith passed away yesterday. One of my favorite comic book artists from way back in the day. I used to read the Max and Friends of the Max series. I'm not sure what he had. They said he's been sick for a long time, I guess, but I'm not sure what disease he was inflicted. But he passed away recently, or just yesterday. So kind of sad. Last night it was announced he is no longer among us. Let's see. I think this. I mean, I guess it can rotate that way, but I don't feel like that's what I was intending. The angle on this little thing going into her shoulder. That was a little bit sad reading that. I guess he'd been really sick for a long time. And, that's a better angle. That makes more sense. Now I just need to bring that edge at the top. Yeah, so mostly like a lot of what I'm doing here is just kind of nuancing the finish. Good morning. Oh, hello over there on the kick. That is a lot of emojis. Hamsters, huh? What do we think, huh? I'm trying to bring this one to a finish. I'm trying to decide if there's anything else I really want to change. Kind of going through and clarifying edges on here. I found that, you know, once you've kind of got your drawing and your composition and the feeling you want from a picture kind of all solved, you can shift to like to really bring something to make it look complete is really just a matter of managing your edges, kind of going in, cleaning them up, and making sure they're doing the things that you intend. And that's kind of what will shift your work from being, you know, good to like start actually getting closer to that pro level that a lot of people are looking for in terms of their work. Let's see, I want to bring this in front of this guy just a little bit. Fall behind. I think he's just a little too like matching the contours of that. So I'll bring that in front. It's a little thing, but I think it's little things like that that can make a really nice difference. And the work, just popping that in front a little bit. And we need the kind of the gray blue highlight on there. A little darker. A little bit of a difference, but for me, it's like these little things kind of working out. Once the big things have all been taken care of, that can add a lot to a composition. Just, you know, gives it just a little bit more depth. And then I can push some of these blue blacks in there. All right. I'll give it a 15 minutes and we'll stop for the morning. Got to do some electrical testing on my car, see what the problem is. It's been overcharging the battery, which I think is very bad. I'm wondering if it's the alternator. Too much water. Try to get this to flow just right. That feels much better. Alright, I wanted to push this, get rid of these darker tones. That's much better. The line there was too heavy for that shadow. Alright, that's better. All right. Good morning. All right. I think it's been about 2 hours today. Let's see. Alright, I think we'll pull this off. I'm going to glaze it, and then I pull the tape off, see how it looks. Let's see, is it dry? Keep it dry by now. So let's see, glazing medium, sponge brush, and my mister. Using the glazing medium kind of as a varnish, evens out the color, and you can see the transparencies. Get a better view of what's really going on here. Let that dry, and we'll get the hair dryer out and paint off, or the tape off. See how it looks. That usually gives me a nice fresh view of things because it's kind of going over the border in places. Let's get this keyboard. There's 2 layers of tape, so I think I can pull this one off first. Let's scoot that over. Good morning. Let's get that dried off first. Get a layer of tape there. It's good. Always feels better than I put the tape on. That's pretty old on everything. I have to get a fresh view as well. This is the pro tip, by the way, on removing tape perfectly every time. A hair dryer. Yeah, I think it's effectively done. There'll probably be some touch-ups I want to do on it. Probably gonna do a touch-up day on like all 3 of the paintings, anyway. But oh, good. This is us. I think we're gonna call that done for now. We'll do a little touch-up day on the other ones too. But yeah, thanks everybody that came in. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you all later.